Okay, so good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us at Kaizen. This is another edition of our weekly book review, and this is the seventh edition of the review for Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. We started this book about 6 or 7 weeks ago. We started with the introduction telling us about the great people of Rossetto. And then we went into the first segment of the book, which was basically around opportunities. And what Malcolm has been trying to prove in his write-up is to tell us that the great people that we have met, the outliers of all generations, have some common traits. One of the traits that he has established from the first segment, which covers about five chapters or 6 chapters, was opportunities. And has tried to establish to us in different form and manner that the people we know that are successful, they are talented, no doubt. They are gifted, no doubt. But they were also exposed to an unprecedented opportunities, which gave them that leverage above every other person. So he used several examples, people that train 10 or 10,000 hours. He used several examples to establish and confirm to us that while you have your talent, while you are skilled, while you have everything you need, opportunities and leverage are very, very important for us to pay special attention to. So he's using that medium to tell us that to be an outlier, don't be overconfident about your talent. Don't rest and believe that you are good by just doing the right thing. You also need to have the right opportunity for you to excel. So we're moving to the second segment of the book titled Legacies. And the first chapter of Legacy is talking about the Harlan, Kentucky. And we have today Kehinde Jimoh, a passionate writer, I guess, here to talk to us about that chapter. In a regular manner, she'll be spending 15 to 20 minutes to take us through, and then we'll open the floor for comments and insight from others. We want to make us contribute as much as possible and make it very interactive so that we can learn from your deep insight as well. Kehinde, thank you so much for the opportunity. I hand over to you to proceed. Thank you. Is it me? Okay, this network is not so good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, we cannot hear you. Do you want to check your network again, please? Hello, Kehinde, can you hear me? All right, well, Kehinde, I can still not hear you. I think the network is really not so good. Do you want to please, can you try an alternate or an alternative network? We cannot hear you. So while we're waiting for Kehinde to get connected, this, like I said, this section is talking about legacy. He proved to us in the first segment. Kehinde, if you are back, let me know so that I can hand over back to you. Okay, so
Hello, can you hear me?
clearly, yes, it's better now. I can hear you. You can go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Kehinde. I'm reviewing the chapter 6 of the second part of the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right. So, in this chapter, Malcolm talked about how cultural legacies, particularly those ones that are established in family or community histories, how these legacies can shape behaviors in many ways by telling us the story of Harlan, a small Appalachian town in the southeastern part of Kentucky. Kentucky is a state in the US. So he said Harlan County was founded in 1819 by 8 families. So amongst these 8 families, he focused on 2 families, just 2 families, the Howards and the Turners. Malcolm said that Harlan County would have remained unpopular, but for the feud between these 2 families that did not get along, they didn't like each other at all. So a man known as Samuel Howard, yes, was the head of the Howard family, while William Turner was that of the Turners. So it all began when their grandsons, Howard, Weeks Howard, and Little Bob Turner, they were playing a game called poker. So, and it led to a fight. They were accusing each other of cheating, and they met the next day again and continued the arguments. They argued until it led to gunshots, and it led to the death of one of the participants. So instead of resolving it, these 2 families joined in the conflict, the feud, that it now resulted in multiple deaths. A lot of people lost their life into it. So this conflict illustrates the cultural legacy known as the culture of honor, where people were expected to defend their reputation by using violent means, anything possible, all in the name of maintaining their respect, their status. So this culture laid emphasis on the importance of defending one's honor, how you are willing to resort in violence to defend it. So this showed when the 2 guys, Weeks and Little Bob Howard, Weeks Howard and Little Bob Turner, yes, they're playing the game, and when it led to the death of one of them, even when some of the Howards went to see the mother of the Turners to ask for they were like, it was like, no, how will you wipe up that blood that? So we cannot agree. And it went on. She even told her dying son that he should shut up. When he was reading in pain, he wanted to die. So she told him to die like a man, like his brother did. And that was the first quote in the front of the chapter: die like a man, like your brother did. So after that, to tell us about the persistence of this culture, Malcolm made reference to the study by 2 psychologists, Dov Cohen and Richard Nisbet. They are students of Michigan, University of Michigan, yes. So the culture of honor, whether it is still in modern era or it has finally gone, they researched about it. So in the experiments, both the Southerners, they gathered people from the southern parts and people from the northern parts. So they insulted them, like they caused something like a quarrel between them. So they found out that the southern participants have stronger aggressive reactions and increased level of testosterone and cortisol, the hormones of arousal and aggression, compared to the northerners. So they went their hormones of arousal and aggression for the northerners went up. No. So for the southerners, it went up, while for the northerners, it was down. And like they tried to regulate it themselves. So Cohen and Nisbet, they said the southerners reacted like that guy Weeks Howard did when Little Bob accused him of cheating in the game. So the point Malcolm was trying to tell us is that success and behavior cannot be understood without considering cultural background and inherited social patterns, those trends from their background, where they originate from. So this suggests that cultural legacies can influence behavior even in modern, like urban setting. How people react to challenges, how they solve problem, even when whether they will succeed or fail in different places, in different cases, in different times, both in the past and in the present. So in this chapter 6, in conclusion, in this chapter 6, so Malcolm is emphasizing the importance of cultural legacies, inherited, those legacies that they inherited, how it shapes people's behavior, their successes, by talking about the history of this Harlan, Kentucky. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please. We can hear you clearly.
So I'm saying that in this, what Malcolm is trying to drive at is just the importance of people, their background, and how it affects the way they behave and respond to challenges. So far in the outliers, we've seen that um background he's saying that background can affect the success of someone, maybe where they were born, how they were trained, their lifestyle, and the circumstance of their upbringing. It has significance in the difference of where they stay. So that's the end.
Thank you so much, Kende, for that review and giving us the deep insights into the historical legacy of the Alan Kentucky people. We really appreciate, and we we appreciate the insights. So please, if you have any comment to add or any insight to share, please feel free to raise your hand, and then we'll give you the platform to speak. So if from what Kende told us, Malcolm Gladwell started with the story of the Alan Kentucky people, and he explained that if you look at how they fought and how they killed each other, you mistakenly think that it came because of some of the recent event that happened. But he made it clear in his book that the kind of people that they do, or the kind of people that they are, and the kind of reactions that they have to event is basically around the historical lineage of people. And the whole book centered around what he called cultures of honor. Cultures of honor. And he basically explained that cultures of honor is something that make people feel that they need to fight for survival, or the means of livelihood is based on on their self-worth. So he defined it verbatim. He said it's a world where man's reputation is at the center of his livelihood and self-worth. And the experiment that Kennedy referenced was a social experiment that they did. They brought two different sets of people into a hallway, and they tested their reactions to to insults, to frustrations, and how they would react. And they realized that every single person that came from the southern region of America responded in a more, they call it, amused way. They were not taking things personal. They were not really aggressive and sad, and they were not ready to fight. Whereas every single people that came from the northern land were more aggressive. So this to tell you that what he's trying to say, being an outlier, because he's setting a leverage or a premise for a further argument in the book. What he's trying to establish is that you cannot eliminate people's lineage, people's historical background from how they became successful. For example, and I hope I will have more time to clarify this from stereotype, because we can have, if care is not taken, we'll misunderstand this concept to be a stereotype thing. You can understand in Nigeria how a Nigerian northerner is well placed in the civil service. They are the ones that controls most of the civil service and the government agencies. It is clear. There was a lineage. You can explain it from the history of those people. In terms of the economic power today, we can also explain it with the lineage of the Easterners to say, no, these guys are business tycoon. They know how money works and how to build economic prowess. In terms of education, you can also explain it with the people in the West as well. So basically, what Malcolm is saying is that you cannot isolate people's successes or how people get to be outliers from their lineage. And he's saying, I'm not saying to their grandfather, I'm saying to their great grandfathers. So there's a link to it, right? So he emphasized this and he made us realize that for all of us, it has an impact on how we relate and what we eventually become. Meaning is that if you have an ethical lineage, for instance, your great grandfathers were professors, there's a higher likelihood, which is not certain, higher probability that you can likely be in love with academics, right? Right. So that's what basically this chapter is talking about. And it focused on the cultures of honor, which means that people have become take the concept of success from the lineage that they have, right? So, and he also said that he said, so he was trying to explain that the people from Appalachia, he said, why was Appalachia the way it was? Why did they become aggressive and fight and kill each other? He said it was because of where the origin of inhabitant of the regions came from. Meaning that if people came from north to come and settle in a particular place in Lagos, that place is Lagos, but you still see the trend and the way they behave and how they handle issues as northern way because they migrated from that place to the other. If you go to the UK now, you see a lot of Nigerians, maybe the Jebus, it also has an impact because they are now in the UK or they are carrying a London or UK passport, does not change the source of where they came from, right? So that is what Malcolm was trying to say. And this, if care is not taken, it will lead us to stereotype, to start saying that, oh, if somebody is an Ijebu man, like the way we know, an Ijebu man is known to be stingy, right? So this is not meant to be a stereotype. This is not a license for us to stereotype ourselves or stereotype people into a negative bucket, right? Or into just assuming that because you are this, you always be this. No, this is just basically telling us that it has an impact in how people turn out to be. And in the era of self-awareness, self-discovery, and people managing their personalities better, this gap can actually be closed. Somebody can be, so for example, look at someone like Fowles. If you look at the closest lineage of Fowles, it came from the legal, let's say, constituency where father, family, they are all lawyers. But he decided to choose a different path. So I'm just saying that in the era of self-awareness, self-discovery, some of these things can be a bit blurry, and it's not a license for us to be stereotypes, right? So, but like we said, this book is emphasizing that we should understand that when you see someone being successful or somebody being an outlier and somebody behaving in a particular way, you cannot entirely isolate that attitude, that success, the way the person has come out to be from the lineage of that person. So it has an impact. And that's why it is also important to also understand this in what we do. And like what Malcolm told us in first chapter, when you say that opportunities is part of the reason why people are successful, that does not mean that we should we should downgrade talent or effort. But what he's saying is that when you have talent and effort, you also need to start looking out for opportunities. The same way to say that if you have that lineage, you have that family leverage. It's a leverage for you to stand on to get to where you want to get to. So if you don't have that background, you find it difficult. If you have that background, it comes or it is expected to come easier. So that's basically what um, Malcolm is saying. So, like I said, if you have any comments or anything to share, please feel free to raise your hand and then we'll give you the platform to speak. Another thing he said in terms of um, how Harlan, Kentucky, or how lineage is important was what was he said. He said in the back country, violence wasn't for economic gain, it was personal. You fought over your honor. So he was saying that, and this is also the concept of cultures of honor. To say people were not fighting because they want to own land, right? The Holos and the Tenants were not fighting each other and killing each other because of land. They just want to fight to say, we are more honorable than you. You dare not come close to us. You dare not cheat us. We are honorable people. So meaning that that attitude is in their lineage. And when they were doing the most recent um, survey or most recent research, it came out very clearly, and it came out from the people of the South and from the people of the North. And even in Nigeria, if we do some of these surveys and you put some of us in different buckets, it will reflect on how we handle things, despite our knowledge, our exposure, and our experiences, our interactions. It shows clearly, it shows clearly how we all became, and you can see it from our lineage. Another quotation that I want to emphasize there, he said, but the simple truth is that if you want to understand what happened in those small towns in Kentucky in the 19th century, you have to go back into the past and not just one or two generations. He said that the culture of hypothesis says that it matters where you are from, not just in terms of where you grew up or where your parents grew up, but in terms of where your great grandparents and great great grandparents grew up, and even where your great 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 grandparents grew up. So, this is an emphasis to let us understand the importance of lineage in what we eventually become. And like we said, I'm just trying to get. So he was also saying that he said, so far we have seen that success arises out of the steady accumulation of advantages. That was the first chapter of the book. When and where you were born, what your parents did for living, and what the circumstances of your upbringing were, all make a significant difference in how well you do in the world, right? He said the question for the second part of Outlier, which is the second part we have started reviewing, is whether the traditions and attitudes we inherit from our forefathers can play the same role. Can we learn something about why people succeed and how to make people better at what they do by taking cultural legacies seriously? He said, I think we can. So what he's basically saying is that our cultural basis, our cultural legacies has a huge impact to what we come out to become, right? And then we need to understand that every single individual in the world today has a legacy, and that legacy will impact how the person will come out to be or the otherwise. And he has cited some of the examples here, particularly the survey or the research or the social experiment done by those professors to prove that people actually are impacted by where they came from. So this is the beginning of the second chapter. And then we'll be going next week, we'll be going into another chapter, which is the ethic theory of plane crashes. So, which will now start going deeper into the concept of legacy for 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 outliers. And I can see a comment. Anu said, my key takeaway from this chapter is that cultural legacies have a lasting impact on behavior and success. The cultural emphasizes protecting one's reputation and family name. Thank you so much, Anu, for sharing that. With this, we'll be wrapping up. Since we don't have, I'm not sure I've seen any hand up. to say that this is a platform. This is the second part of the book, which started with the Alan Kentucky story, emphasizing cultural or cultures of honor. And we'll be going into the next chapter next week. The regular reminder is we invite us to our weekly book review session, which is every day, every Saturday, 7:30 to 8 p.m. The focus is just to share our insight. We want to thank our reviewer today. And we also invite all of us to be our reviewers on a weekly basis so that we will keep the spirit. Our goal remains to revive the reading culture and encourage all of us to read. And the book we'll be reading is The Outliers. And this is the fourth book that we are reading so far, and it's been good and it's been interesting. We seek our support to follow us on our social media platform. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we are on X, formerly Twitter, and we also have a WhatsApp platform where we join and share information. We encourage all of us to join us, and we thank you so much for your time today. Wish you a lovely night and see you the same time next week. Bye bye and have a lovely night. Bye bye. Thank you so much, Kinde, for the review. And let's enjoy the rest of our night. Bye bye.